He was okay with releasing the early ones. He just gave us the revisions because he thought we were asking for it, which I was. But I was asking for it.
Dude, is this a swindle?
It was the biggest Abilene I've ever did seen.
I ever did seen.
It's fucking crazy. Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, and challenging norms. Today, 4 episodes today. This episode is 107, so we think.
I want people to go on YouTube and watch these and let us know in the comments down below. You're watching this right now. Go back 3 episodes.
Why haven't they changed outfits?
Were we more excited? Do we have more energy? Had we not gone into this confirmation bias rabbit hole 4 episodes ago? Are we stuck in no man's? What is going on?
No, here's what's going to happen.
Emergency
Whenever
pod 2.
The drama episodes where we shit on clients. Oh my God, this is so funny. Whenever we shit on clients, now there's like a pod where I just had that call that we were hyping up with Zach, and I realized and by we I mean I was totally in the wrong.
Really?
Completely.
Wrong assumptions or in the wrong? We're doing the wrong thing.
Wrong everything.
Really?
Wrong everything.
Everything. Hold on. The caveat here, I don't know anything, by the way. I am with the viewer right now. I heard muffled things. I stepped out. I pooped for a while. I didn't hear much. It sounded like a roller coaster. The caveat is Zach's really diplomatic. Did he trick you?
If he tricked me, he's the best trickster I ever did seen. He's
okay, Pop. Take us.
He gave it to me straight. No. No, he wasn't. No, he was like, I respect him a lot. I like him a lot.
That is so interesting.
God, we've been shitting on him for so long, Zach.
Hold on. Did you give it to him straight and he changed the whole thing?
Here's what happened.
Because this is the fear with give it to me straight people.
No.
Okay.
I came in and I was like, literally the last podcast we ended at 12:20 and the call was at 12:20. So I just like stumble in, don't really have my thoughts put together, but I'm like, Zach, here's the issue. Said a lot more poorly, but basically, we're just iterating a lot. It's destroying the team. Like, if I were you, like, how do we grow this channel? Well, maybe we shorten the video, bring down the production quality, just really churn them out. Like, that's the goal, and that's the best way that you can be a better storyteller, more engaging. The videos will be better. That's just long-term success. That's how we do it. And he's like, yeah, I agree. I've just been confused. No, his delivery wasn't like this. That makes it sound douchey. His delivery is like, I talked for a while. He's like, yeah, no, and I've been kind of confused because you gave me the rule book, and that's what I loved about y'all. Y'all were just like, this is how we work. And at first I was like, okay, no, I'm totally on board. And then I've just been confused why we've been revising it so much.
What?
I'm like, you're confused why we're revising it so much. He's like, yeah, I loved. He was like, quote, when you told me we iterate to perfection through iteration,
what?
Not revision. He's like, I told that to my whole team. I love that. Perfection through iteration. I have 4 videos waiting. We've just been not moving very fast on this. I've been happy to release this on V1. We just gave more revisions.
You're kidding. He said that?
Because I had told him, and this is true, I told him like, hey, because I was worried.
He would release V1?
I'm
going to have a stroke, Bob. You must have.
I've been losing my shit for the last 40 minutes. So I was like, wait, you wanted to release this? He's like, yeah, well, you said that, we're going to do extra revisions of this one until we get the look, like branding how you want it.
Okay.
And then from there on, we'll just churn through videos because we understand the style. He's like, oh, okay. He said, oh, okay, as in like, oh, he wants to hear more feedback, get more revisions for us to kind of perfect the V1. He was okay with releasing the early ones. He just gave us the revisions because he thought we were asking for it, which I was. But I was asking for it.
Dude, is this a swindle?
It was the biggest Abilene I've ever did seen.
I ever did seen.
It's fucking crazy. So
I'm going to throw up again.
So dude, he was giving us revisions.
In your heart of hearts, you trust that he would have released V1.
Here's what happened. Okay, so you saw how good the production quality was
on V1.
No, like his set and everything.
Yes.
It looked amazing.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, well, I thought you like rented a studio, got all these cameras. That's what you've been doing for the last 2 months. Like you're writing all these scripts.
That could be a bad assumption, right?
That was my assumption. And he's like, oh, no, I'm just in my office. That's literally right there. I just have a camera and they set it up and I already had good lights. So it just looks good. And it like, we've been tearing through scripts. That's why we just want to build up a little queue so you could like really just jump into it. And I'm like, oh, what?
That makes sense.
And
we didn't write it off as, it wasn't a problem with, well, it was the production quality.
Dude, this is so funny. And then, so, like, that whole thing, we're like, why does he feel slimy? Like, remember back in the day when I was like, he's like, why are you changing prices or whatever? You want to just get on the phone? And, like, him getting on the phone, he's like, he was on board with everything, basically. He's just like, I think you guys might be misunderstanding something. So, like, I just wanted to clarify with you, like, where I'm at with all of this.
But it was kind of a frame battle, no?
I don't think, now I'm like, am I misinterpreting? Text sucks. We might have to do meetings.
Maybe tone gets fucked in text.
I
mean, we know it does. We know it does.
Basically, I've been a fucking serial killer for the last 2 weeks, murdering Tony, murdering Zach, murdering all the team, just because I assumed that he wanted perfection because his set looked perfect, and it took a while.
Okay, so what's the game plan now?
So the game plan's like, he's like, yeah, dude, I'll do whatever you tell me to. Like, if you're like,
but why hasn't he paid?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't really want to bring that up. I was debating it.
Right. So,
but
that's another Abilene. It's like we weren't producing the content. You didn't put the video into the queue because there's no deadline. He hasn't paid. You still thought we were trying to win the bid.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. That maybe that adds a little bit fodder, like a little bit of reinforcement to my argument. Was like, oh, I thought he didn't pay because he like didn't like the quality and he was unsure about the arrangement. So that's why I was revising, or we were revising more. Was I'm like
waiting till he signed off and paid.
Right. And because he had some like budget concerns with like, oh, I thought we're gonna pay this much per video, whatever. We kind of uppriced a little bit. Then I was like, oh, you're more concerned about the quality of each video than if you can do fewer than you thought or not as long. But that was just all assumptions. So I don't know the pay thing. Like we'll see. My assumption right now is like,
hey, you got an assumption.
I got a lot of assumptions apparently.
Now I'm confused again.
Yeah, I guess the pay situation, I'm kind of confused because we always require upfront pay. But
okay, so it ends. We're ripping.
Well,
through?
No, basically, I mean this is what was
and
really cool about the call.
Him?
We like that was part of the call. The other call was like, no, dude, I get it. Like I have my own agency. Like I started it 10 years ago, grew it. We're like 60 people. I literally white gloves are like I'm in the same boat as y'all. He told me all about Venveo and like what they do, and they're just like, you go to Home Depot, pretty much every aisle, he's got a bunch of brands, and he just does like their company does all the marketing there, top to bottom for all of them. So he's like, yeah, I'm so used to what you're doing. That's why I love it. Like I love everything about it.
I'm so confused.
Was mentoring.
Was making that pivot to mentorship, pulling away from the hard conversation?
No, the hard conversation was, I've just been wrong. I mean, if the hard conversation is like, okay, why haven't you paid? I could have asked that. I didn't ask that. But I think it's mostly because I was so rattled that I was the last thing I expected was, we're revising because you asked us to give you revisions.
Crazy. That's crazy. We're all just sitting around twiddling thumbs.
His thing was like, yeah, no, I totally get your rule book and like why you don't want to do calls. I'd say just like when it's a new client and there are these kind of like you don't really know how to work with them, it might be worth having a call like once the first month or something, or like whatever it is, just to make sure you're all on the same page. And I'm sure a lot of the drama that we've had, we get on a call with Scott, like, hey Scott, like we're going through email, but like, hey, what's actually going on?
Oh, now I'm
starting
confused.
to question everything, dude.
Now I'm confused.
I'm really starting to question everything.
Hey, if you're listening to this, we clearly don't know what's going on anymore. This is our 4th podcast today. You got to let us know what to do. Did I hit record on the video camera? Hey,
Every single podcast.
all right. I guess we got a break. That's a great update. That is a great Smart Nonsense update. Everything. If I could flip this table, I would. Everything's been flipped over for the third time today.
My mind, this is the fucking roller coaster that y'all don't see day to day, but this
Here's
is every
what's
single
so
day.
difficult. Maybe it's because Dharmesh is cut from the same cloth. That relationship, beautiful. Asynchronous, no meetings. Is it because he gets it? He's been there. He's been doing no calls for so long. Like you said, if we got on the phone with Scott, but then is it all fake? Is it all just fugazi?
Yeah,
It's all relation. It's all everyone's putting on a front, and we can act like we like each other, and then on a call, and then the relationship is saved. Do we need to practice more radical honesty?
But he was very much like, he wasn't like a give it. He kind of like paraphrased give it to me straight, but like I don't know how you would say like this was. He's like, I actually want feedback, and I get that. Like he was thinking that our concern, like me being like, I don't know if we can work together, was because we didn't believe that the channel would be successful, and it hurt our brand to be affiliated with it. I'm like,
That's the least.
No,
that's
I don't.
least
I don't
of
go.
our-
I mean, we'll crush it as long as you crush it. I just want you to crush it, and I don't think you're gonna crush it like this.
And you not crushing it means we won't crush it for you. It's
Right.
all related, but it's not an image thing.
So that's why I'm like, maybe it's weird that couldn't be accomplished in text. Fuck, I'm a bad
Is it
communicator.
tone? Dude, it might be all the periods.
What?
Hey, the winky face still doesn't help. the winky face objective frame shift.
Fuck, dude. We might have to. It's like how I want to put like calls.
Should I
When
be
we're-
meeting guy because I'm agreeable? And then I'll just relay it to you, and you can be the no nonsense.
No. I
Radical
think
honesty?
you do better in text. I think it's
Oh.
agreeable people suck in meetings.
Oh yeah,
You want the disagreeable in meetings because they don't get.
but I
like,
can put him at ease in text.
I-
Dude, what the fuck?
So lessons for people.
This
I don't.
is going to be the most profound podcast of all time. In 5, look at us. We usually have all the answers. At least all
I've
the
been
answers in our
rattled
world.
for the last. There's no Abilene. I'm like, fuck. You kind of do need calls. If we were we were all on the same page, assuming that's accurate. The pay thing is kind of weird, but assuming
Hold on. Sorry, finish your thought.
we're trying to go in the same direction, but we Abilened each other so hard that we thought we were enemies.
I have an idea because this also plays into our strengths. Maybe being agreeable on text is good. I can also fire off a lot of messages fast. You do the opposite of that, apparently. But not being super agreeable would work better on calls. You wouldn't have all the pent up anxiety or perfectionism we need to get for our messages if you just jumped in, but then you don't really want to get on calls. You always want to cancel them right before. But then you have them and you're happy you had them.
I love having a free schedule.
Right.
Like what was nice about today was it was super easy to get on the phone with Zach. I was just like, yo, we should talk today. And he's like, yeah, when are you free? And I'm like, 12. And he's like, okay, 12. And it was just boom.
So maybe they're never scheduled more than 24 hours out.
It's like, I think we're disagreeing. Let's hop on a on a call. Like if there's I think there might be a misunderstanding, then it's hop on a call. But there's no I don't think schedule.
But here's the funny thing.
There are people like Dan that will be like, ASAP, we need to do this in a meeting.
Okay.
And then you're like, no, that's a message.
Okay.
But then this was a fundamental, I think we're on the same, Scott. I think Scott right now, that would be a good meeting. Because I don't think he's a bad person.
Correct.
I think we're in this little frame battle via text and it's losing all humanity. And it's like, okay, we get on the phone. Hey, Scott, what are you trying to accomplish? Okay, what are we trying to accomplish? How do our goals meet? How do we go in the same direction? And I think we're trying to do that. We want them to get the most exposure, and that exposure helps us. So it's probably like only in difficult situations. Like right now would probably be good. Like, hey Scott, let's just talk about it. I think
you know what I don't like, and this has happened with previous co-founders, is like when you raise a problem in text and they're like, "Can you call?" I don't like that. I don't like being put on the spot like that. Right. It's like their default is to call. I think Scott's was. I think Zach's is.
But Zach's was apparently necessary, super necessary, because we almost just dropped it completely.
I agree.
Like, I was going into that call, I told you 10% chance he's on board.
I think I fired him on our last podcast episode.
Right.
You were going to gift Tony, it's Tony's birthday today, you were going to gift her the firing of that client 30 minutes ago.
So aren't we turning into the clients that you hate then? That are like, we're disagreeing, like, let's get on a call?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, how do we not become that, though?
I don't know. Well, my first thought was I'm agreeable tech DM email guy. You don't even like using exclamation points. Apparently people like exclamation points.
I don't like them.
You don't like them. But then you're better on a call. Because you won't get pushed around as much. And you'll stick to the agenda. And you'll ask the North Star question. I have no idea. What was okay, give me for our viewers. Well, they don't really care. And but like how is he affording all this?
Everyone's
what is he I heard an exit event. Do they just have a ton
he built a 60-person company that's ripping, and he's working with he has like a handful of billion-dollar companies.
He's paying out of pocket, his personal pocket.
He's pretty much exiting. Like, I asked him, like, oh, what should we actually? Yeah, I asked him, hey Zach, what should we do with our company right now? And he's like, well, if you're at the scale where you have like 30 plus people, really what you should do is just figure out how to get yourself out of operations. Like you
did that,
kind of. But he's like, you need someone that's like specializes in operate, like even an engineer type person. Like we're kind of having animators go into that role, and they're probably not the best at scaling an agency operation. And he's also like, well, what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to do?
This is good. We're talking to Shane Mack on Thursday, who is the OG. You guys need to hire an operator. Right. That's a podcast episode when you're going to hire a CEO. Hey, Jack Belcaster's back. Jack Belcaster does meetings.
I mean, that's why essentially we got fired from HubSpot was because of meetings.
Which is silly because it's their rule.
It's kind of like when you're trying to find where the right line is, like you have to go over.
You have to.
And we went over a little bit, and now we're like, okay,
this
maybe
answer all our
there's
questions.
A caveat in edge case.
People might not like Dharmesh or communicating with Dharmesh inside of the company because of that policy.
But we like him.
Because we're cut from the same cloth. You hated talking to people. I used to like it, but then I came to your side.
I actually love talking to people.
I know, it's weird.
I love it. I just don't like thinking about the idea of it. It's like for example,
yeah.
Comedians, they hate being right behind the curtain waiting to go on stage.
Right.
When they're on stage, they love it. I'm the same way. I love being on stage. I love actually like giving presentations. I just hate the idea of thinking about it.
It's everything for you. It's your test taking. You hated the build up. You would cram to the last minute. Same thing with the pod. You'd cram. We do it. It's fine. You listen to it back. You're like, hey, pods are sick. And there's that funny meme where it's like an iPhone calendar. And it's like the first 6 hours of the day are prep for a meeting. Then you have one 20-minute meeting, and then the rest is napping after the meeting.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel that.
No, that's me. That's why I'm like, I enjoyed cutting them out completely. But I'm like, they are kind of necessary.
You're unradicalizing.
I just had my fucking world shattered. I'm like, oh, I actually like this guy. It went from the villain to... This guy's been on my side, and I'm the villain.
Your sidekick. He is fun to talk to. I just didn't believe he was being honest.
Now I do.
He's nice enough. Huh.
I think the money thing kind of confuses me still. But other than that, he seemed like an actual straight shooter.
Hey, so a wise person once said, though, money doesn't talk, it swears. Is he going to pay or not? Everything else is fugazi.
Right.
You're like, money doesn't talk.
So my
Money
my
don't
hope,
talk. It swears.
my gut is like, we'll finish the first video and then be like, okay.
Oh,
Are you gonna
okay.
pay?
Maybe. We can discuss that post-pod. We got bigger problems. Do we not know how to communicate?
Dude, I mean, we've had a lot
Do
of
we need to
communication problems recently.
Do we need to change how we communicate? You and I divvy
Well,
that
that's
task
the
up.
thing
Do
I
we
like-
get the operator who loves, like Shane said, find someone who loves like managing, micromanaging, putting two threads together and meeting with people.
That's what he said, is like, your service is different. Like, I get it. Like, you're trying to not do meetings, just like focus on animation.
Product, right?
It's definitely a thing. We're more white glove, so we like have to work with them more. That means we can like charge a higher price point, and we never have churn. We're like 93%, which is awesome. And that's like our model, is like trying not to have people churn. So yeah, if there's someone that actually enjoys meetings in their calendar and like enjoys doing that, and it helps sell one more client, and they pay for themselves already.
Whoa, dude.
And they can do titles and thumbnails, which we have to do.
Whoa. I think we got to wrap there. Wow.
It's another
Episode
day.
107 for the books.
We're gonna be at 200 by tomorrow.
For the books, it's only 1:30. There's
1:30. I usually get here at 1:30.
There's a chance we shoot 4 more pods today. It's gonna be we should strap up.
Fuck. No, I'm actually gonna stay strapped with the
that's
microphone.
what was cool. Hey, come on, rip it. So people should go listen to the startup podcast about starting Gimlet. What was cool, we were talking about doing voiceovers on some of my Iceland videos. His audio, he just recorded the startup journey. His audio was pretty shitty. He would like go talk to Chris Sacca, or he was talking to his wife. But the voiceover redeemed it because he could announce what was going to happen, put that shitty audio in context. I don't know what my point was. It was about this kind of Aspergery. Like this is something we were talking about yesterday.
I'm picturing our 2045 documentary when we're like, we thought this at first, and then we tested it, and this happened, and it's like our reactions at each moment in time.
I love your point. Maybe this is the title, and maybe this is the biggest takeaway, because this is probably the 5th time this has happened to us. We know nothing, right? You have to, in order to innovate or create something of value or of meaning, you have to toe the line. We have crossed that line and been told off or told not to overstep
multiple times,
4, 5, 6 times. And that leads to solutions and allows us to actually grow. And so you're completely right in that maybe we've gone past the line on no meetings.
It was like going to 25,000 a month. We're like, oh, that's too much. Most people don't need that. Hardly anyone. Let's bring it back down to 15. And now we're like, oh, maybe we can have like some little exception where we can get 10 in.
Right.
And like,
same thing with this persona I was playing on Twitter.
Right.
Maybe it was people were joking, but regardless, like we probably went over the line 2 or 3 times. Sean told us on one occasion, like I probably wouldn't do that. And it's like, okay, then you rein it in. But then you can keep towing that line hard. And towing the line is where everything happens.
Right. Well, here's what did it for me.
You have to find the line.
Zach saying that white glove means no one ever churns. Like we have clients forever. We'd never lose anybody. Like our content's already good enough. The only reason why, and they've said that multiple times, the only reason why we lost part of HubSpot was because we don't do meetings. Even though we don't actually do meeting. Like we've never done a meeting. The point is we've never done a meeting, but the idea that they don't have the opportunity to do a meeting.
Is it loss aversion?
Yeah, it's loss aversion. Exactly. So,
because I'm about to message Sam. I forget what I was going to say, but it's basically like we cannot.
I think we get on a call with all of them. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that would actually fix it. Getting on a call with Sam. He's a straight shooter too. It's like, yo, Sam, totally understand. You should bring this in-house. We recommended that. I still think clips are worthwhile. That's totally your choice. Up to you. It doesn't really matter for us, whatever you do, but it is fun to work together.
People didn't realize maybe it's not transmitted in text, or maybe it's the periods, but like our terms didn't really change much. We just formalized them a little bit. maybe over
we've had
text.
maybe 2 meetings with them.
Maybe over text that felt like a major jab.
I think it was the back-to-back, us establishing the contract that's 6 months. We send the rule book. It's just a lot at once, seemingly out of nowhere, with super short terms, so it felt like a demand. And then just like
we should just live stream all day.
live stream,
a platform we know nothing about. We just Twitch the workday.
Yeah, I'll play video games, and then when business shit comes up,
the problem is, I think unlike video games, if you come into the Twitch stream, you need context. You need the previous 3 podcast episodes to know what we're talking about right in this second. Otherwise, it's like a Clubhouse episode.
That's interesting. Why isn't there a platform where it can be live, but also somehow there's context? Like, how can you give people context no matter what point they show?
Well, on YouTube Live, you can rewind. Oh, but
if there was like, you know how you can skip chapters?
Mm-hmm.
If like people could actively say this is what the chapter is about. Like the only reason why video games works is because you don't need a chapter because each game is new every 5 minutes or whatever.
If we had an outline for what we were going to talk about, you could probably do it, but that defeats the purpose.
But it's like all the people watching, could someone be like, they're just paid to say, oh, this section was about that actively.
You have a producer who's they're talking about, so right now it'd be like, they're confused about whether or not they should have a hard stance of no meetings. And that's just like on the screen. And for the next 2 hours, we're working through that.
Well, that's I don't fucking know. But the point is, like, apparently we're questioning everything. We're questioning it live. This is the first Henry's hearing about this. I just heard about it 10 minutes before the podcast. Literally just got off.
Hey, that's something we've talked about too. Is one person having all the context, like the Smart List podcast, funny comedy podcast. One person knowing nothing. It's like I'm in the audience's shoes right now. Granted, I'm in the audience's shoes. All right, Pop. I think we gotta go do real work somehow.
We gotta
maybe get on calls.
We gotta revise our rule book, but we don't do revisions.
How about that? See y'all.